Hello, this is Christy from Graphicious, and today I would like us to look at animations in Camtasia. With animations, you will be able to achieve things like this one I'm showing you right now. So as you can see, from 4 different graphics that I put on my timeline, I was able to animate, move them around, and create that nice animation. It's not very complicated. Camtasia has some animations that come by default. If you look in the animation section on the left, you will have some animations already built in, or you have a zoom and pan that's very simple. But the animations here, you have different types of pre-made animations. But it's very nice if you can learn to use the custom animation, which allows you to decide yourself where objects move, where they move from, and you can add other stuff in between, and you can do all sorts of other effects. At first I was confused by the custom animation because I didn't know exactly how it worked, so I was just using these pre-built animations. But once I learned this, I discovered that I never used these ones so much, or not at all. So I want to go today over a few animation tips and tricks, how they work from scratch. Let's delete this. And I have in my media library these logos that I imported, and let's choose one. I will place it on my timeline here, and if I move my playhead, I can see it here. Now Camtasia by default has resized my canvas to match this image. It thinks it's a video clip, so it's trying to match it so that I don't have to move it around. But I don't want to do this, so if this happens to you, you can just go to the drop down at the top and select project settings and change your project settings to your desired size. I'm going to use HD. Now my image is in the center, and if you move it around with your mouse, you will see those very helpful snapping lines. For example, now Camtasia is telling me that my object is exactly in the center of the canvas. I don't need this to be so large, so I'm going to make it smaller. And if I move it in the center, it's there now. So how does animation work? Well, animation works with something called keyframes. So you have a starting keyframe and an ending keyframe. So in these two keyframes, these are the start and the end state of your object. So if you want to move an object from the left of the screen to the right of the screen, you need to add an animation, and at the start of the animation, you need to put the object here, and at the end of the animation, you put it here. Then when you play the animation, the software creates all of the steps in between. So let's exemplify this. I am going to zoom in, control and wheel, mouse wheel, and this is my object on the timeline. It's an image, so I can change the duration of this with no problem. So it's going to stay on the timeline as long as I want. At the moment, it's starting from 0 to about 16 seconds. So if I play it, you will see there's nothing happening because there's no animation added to my clip. Let's go to the animations and do like we said before. Let's move the object. Let's make it animate from the left side to the right side of the screen. I'm going to move it so that it's shorter. I'm going to shorten the clip. And let's go to the start. It doesn't really matter where this head is because animations, you can move them off. Later, you can move them so that they start earlier or end later and so on. So I'm going to move my image to the left side of the screen, and I'm going to drag a custom animation to the object. Before I do that, let me show you these pre-built animations. Scale to fit. If I just drag this on my object and I play it, it takes the object from where it is and scales it to be the size of the screen. So there you go. That's what that animation does. Of course, you also have control over this animation to customize it later. But at the moment, I'm just going to click on the animation. Let me make this larger. So the animation is indicated by this arrow that's added onto my clip. Click on it and delete. Now the animation has been removed. Again, I select my clip and I drag a custom animation. When you do that, the clips highlight and you can see I'm not letting go of the mouse yet. I can move it left and right to determine where it starts or ends. So I'm just going to leave it here in the middle of the clip. By default, you can see that the animation is quite short. So if I zoom in, I can see that it is actually an arrow. If I pull these two, the starting point and the end point, I can move left and move right. These two dots indicate the start and the end of my animation. Let's play this from before the start. You can see there's nothing happening because I haven't yet told the animation what's going to happen in the final point. So now in the final point, you see it's highlighted in red. The final point is what I want to happen with the animation. So I wanted to move this to the right side of the screen. I'm just going to place it there. Now, if I move the playhead, we can see that it's moving the object. So if I play it now, the object moves to the other side. I can do multiple animations on the same clip, which is how I realized that animation I showed you at the start. So all you have is just this one image, and I can move this animation to the start, make it shorter. So this is how you extend the duration of the animation. If I make it shorter now, you will see that it moves faster from one point to another. And let's go in the middle here and create another animation that moves the same object to the center of the screen, or maybe down here. Again, drag a custom animation and you will see that it snaps. If I move it up left and right, it snaps to the playhead. So this is a very helpful tip. If you want to more precisely control initially where the animation stops, you can just place your playhead there and you know that's where it ends. So then when you drag your animation, it will just snap to the playhead. And let go. And now let's see what happens. I'm going to pull the beginning of my animation to make it longer, and in the end of the animation I want my object to be down here in the middle. Let's see, did that do it? Yes, it did. Okay, so let me give you another tip. If you have created an animation and you want to replicate that, you can either on the same clip or another clip. So let's now put another clip from the media bin onto my timeline. This new clip doesn't have any animation at the moment. I'm going to make it the same length as the red one. So you can see now the red one is moving behind it because this one is at the top. Let's put this one at the bottom there so that the red one moves on top of it. So you can still see the red one is doing the animation, but the orange one is not. I want to make this one the same size as the red one. So I'm going to just place it here just for an example. And now I want to copy this animation, right click on the animation and copy, and paste it on this second image. Right click on the image and click paste. Now this has pasted the animation, and it pasted it at the very start of my clip. I'm going to zoom in for a bit. So now what happens is both my objects are performing the same animation. So it's a very nice effect. Because the orange one, the animation starts earlier, it starts to move first. So I can move the animation, and again, very helpful, they snap into place. Now of course I'm not going to see anything because they are behind each other, but I can play around with the animation, maybe make this one go a little later. So now you will see that the red one has a trail of the orange one. It's a very nice effect. Let's copy the second one. Click, copy, right click, and paste. It's been placed here. I can move it so that it is a little later. Let's see what we did. Right. If you notice, the animation doesn't work in a constant speed. It speeds up at the beginning and then kind of slows down. You can see that the objects slightly separate from each other for a while, and then they get together again. So this is why, if you notice, let's play this again, maybe slower. Notice how the object speeds up and then slows down at the end. This is called easing, and it gives a bit of a natural feel to the animation. You can change this easing by right-clicking on the animation and choosing Enable Easing, and then choosing one of these. Exponential in and out will do this. Let me delete this one for a second. The exponential one is sort of like the default one, where it speeds up, it starts slow, it speeds up around the middle of the animation, and then halfway through, and then it starts to slow down again. If I change this, Enable Easing, to be linear, it should move at a constant speed all the way through the animation. Notice there's no speeding, no slowing down. Right click, let's try spring. You notice the object goes a bit more than the destination and then comes back. It goes further to the right. So if you make this one go very fast by making it short, you will see it gives a bit of a springy illusion. Yeah, very nice for animations. And finally, I think there's another one here, bounce. You notice it repeats this bounce at the end. Let's run it slower. So it has four skips before it stops. So this is how animations work. You can achieve a lot of effects just by creating custom animations and placing them along your clip, and then moving the clip to where you want it to be and where you want it to come from. So here, select the end keyframe, move the object up, you can make it shorter, you can make move all the animations together. So this is how animation goes. The effect that I achieved in my video that I showed you at the beginning was by replicating these animations on multiple copies of this graphic. Maybe let's put the white one here. So I have 3 different graphics, and each one of them is doing something different. So once you have set the size of the object and the placement, the initial placement, you can play with them. So if you see now, this red one has the proper size, but these other 2 ones, if I hide this one for a little bit, these other 2 ones are quite large. So if I select both of them using my shift key, or I drag like this, I can then resize them on my canvas, and because of this very helpful snapping, I can quickly find the place where they should be, and then all I have to do is just put them at the starting point and copy. Holding down shift, I can copy all the animations from the first clip. Right click, control copy, and then click on these clips and right click and select paste. This has placed all the animations onto the other clips. So again, with the shift key, I can select all of the animations and line them up with the other one. So very quickly, I have created the same animation on 2 more clips. So if I want this effect now to maybe happen to all of them so I can see them because they are moving now on the same exact place, all I have to do is just select these ones and maybe move them if I want them to enter the scene later, and the animations will go with them. As you can see, each one moves individually. Or if I want them to be in the scene at the beginning, all I have to do is just move the actual animations for each one of them a bit later. So now the same effect has been achieved. Another trick, if you want to make the animation, you decide that the animations are too slow, you can speed them up by selecting all of them, and then you drag either one of them and all of them will change duration. So I can make my animations much faster if I just make them shorter, of course, like this. And if I want to move them closer, again, select them and move them, and they will move in sync, like this. So now they should move much faster. Okay, another trick I want to show you, and this has to do with the duration of the initial animation. If I go to the animations here and I drag a custom animation to my timeline, to my clip, you will notice it's probably very short. This is because I modified my default because I wanted very fast action on that video I showed you. But if you want to change this so you don't have to change it all the time, so let's say that you usually work with animations that last maybe a second or half a second, I don't know, maybe a second. You can change the default animation duration for Camtasia. This will not change the animations you've already added to your scene. It will change only the new ones. So the way to do that is to go to the program preferences, go to the edit menu, preferences, and go to timing. And here you have some default timings for various things. For transitions, images, so when you place images on your scene, they will be by default 5 seconds long each. But here you have animations. So at the moment, because I changed this and I made it shorter for myself, 0.1 seconds, that's why they are so short. You can use these arrows to move up and down, or you can type in here, let's say 1 second. So now when I click OK, all of the animations that I put on my scene from now on will be 1 second long. So let's try custom animation, drag it to my clip. Notice it's now much longer. So this is how you change the timings for default things like animations and transitions. So now I can use this one. It's much easier to use. So this has been an overview of animation in Camtasia. Remember that they work with a starting point and an ending point, and then you move your object in all of the points. You move to the place, you move the object, and then it moves from one point to another. And you can vary the duration, vary the distance, you can vary the easing, and so on, to achieve many effects like this. I actually added this clip to my library with sound. So let me put it again and play it. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy my tutorials, please subscribe to my channel. See you next time.